Kia ora e te whānau, no mai haere mai o tautahi. Welcome to beautiful Bob Deans Field in Hagley Park in Christchurch for the 2025 Division 2 Ultimate Championships. My name, as always, is Blair Monroe. I'm joined in the booth.
I'm Kelsey Vielik.
What a pleasure it is to have you here again, Kelsey. We have our opening match for the tournament on this wonderful Saturday morning. Barefoot, a little bit of a hybrid team, a bunch of friends who have come up through the sport from the Hamilton region and who have pulled from some reasonably solid player bases elsewhere in the country to field a team for this championship event, facing off against Canberra's Trail Mix, who you can see on your screen at the moment. So, Trail Mix playing out of the white uniforms, Barefoot in a lovely cool blue, dark navy combination.
And that's one of the reasons that I like Division 2 championships here in Aotearoa, New Zealand so much, Blair, is that it allows teams, teams from Australia to fly over. They're not competing for that one bid at the Division 1 championships that Australia comes over for. We got a diversity of teams, as we'll see over the course of the next 2 days. And meanwhile, over here, the diversity, as you were just mentioning, the team from Hamilton, it allows those opportunities for growth and playing here on the national stage.
And so we are seeing the signal. The pull goes up. Nice high Kume to send that one deep into Barefoot's offensive hands starting off. Some nice, good disc movement pushing towards the near sideline, but a hefty foot block early on in the piece as Trail Mix are taking a nice chunky snack out of that disc, setting the tone early. Yes, it's day one. Yes, it's Division 2, but we came to play.
That was huge. What a way to start the day. I mean, first that beautiful strike cut, but then a foot block. Definitely a bite out of that.
And we are, team, only a minute 44 into the first game of the tournament, and already we're asking to see if the disc can be replaced.
That's how big that block was. I think, yeah, taking a bite out of that, but that was a creamy coconut bite, it looks like. It's just such great reading on that. We'll see one more time here. Saw exactly where the thrower is looking to put that huck.
And that, to me, is one of the big fundamentals of defense, recognizing what the thrower's intentions are. Puts up a last-minute shot. Shut down. And closed out. Fantastic work by the Barefoot defense, really putting body on the line to commit that one. There was enough left under it with that first touch that... Oh, second touch.
And Craig with the D there, really showing his veteran experience. He's been such a leader in the community for decades. And out here back on the field, reading that D, I'm getting the disc moving.
Franson finds Varley working in the center field, looking back for a reset. Good pressure defense from Trail Mix are going to be able to generate a turnover. And so with a scoreless game a couple minutes in, nothing clean so far. We're seeing a lot of defensive pressure from both of these sides, forcing these turns, forcing some maybe lower percentage throws.
Styly knee slide for style points there.
Hope.
And right now, Trail Mix really capitalizing on the break side of the field. There may be a bit of white line fever in those firing shots, but the previous turnover, it's something I'd like to see actually Barefoot recognize a little bit right now is I think mainly Trail Mix has mainly been throwing up break throws from what I've seen.
Yeah, which really, I mean, that's the advantage. If you've got an experienced thrower, then we're seeing it put up, looking for Varley in the deep space.
Speaking of breakthrows, what vision!
Taken down, Franson pushing deep into the end zone, hoping for the continuation, finds a thread straight to the hands of the Trail Mix trap. But as you were saying, Kelsey, that's exactly right. Looking for prioritizing those break throws, it means one good throw opens up the entire downfield. Nicely reeled in a quick 1-2 to punch it through. 33 for Trail Mix on a nice little bit of handler movement, decides to push into the deep field space, sending a big shot up.
Oh, it's 50-50.
Double coverage. Reeled in with the toe touch by the looks. Everyone on Trail Mix calling that one.
What a first point to start this tournament. We had a foot block, a taco disc, multiple Ds, huge breakthrows. Catches under multiple coverage. What? There
truly is a smorgasbord of what Ultimate has to offer. a trail mix, one might say. Right? Mix in some nuts, some M&Ms, a cheeky foot block, a taco disc. It's great to see. And both of these teams really setting the stage for the kind of athleticism, the kind of talent and display that we're hoping to see throughout the course of this tournament as we stretch inexorably towards the finals tomorrow afternoon.
And just a commentary also on conditions at the moment. As you guys might see, it's overcast, beautiful for Ultimate Frisbee. You know, when you don't have that glaring sun in your eyes, it's not coming from one direction or the other. So the cloud's kind of shading that. And a cross breeze, that's going to be coming across the far side of the field towards the camera across the field. So there's a high side, very much a high side and a low side, which will be impacting the hucks. It'll be impacting the edges that players are putting on their throws. And something that Yeah, we might actually see some zones coming out, testing the waters a little bit to limit that flow and capitalize on the wind there as well at some point in this game.
But it's still early days in the tournament at the moment. Probably reasonable that I think for the next few points at least, while these teams feel each other out. Much like the opening of a boxing match where the priority is on jabs and feints, trying to get a sense for how people react, how people respond. We're going to see some really, really solid defense in these initial phases. And then as you say, Kelsey, as the conditions change, as teams recognize where the weaknesses in each other's offense lies, are they going to make changes to those defenses to try and capitalize on those? A nice high outside in roller pull.
Great pull. Giving the team time to run down when it's on the ground. You know, they really need to stop. It can be hard to stop those rolls. A lot of handler movement, really quick handler movement right now as they're struggling to find those open players.
Chips through, manages to find Jordan. Nice continuations. Wow. Body on the line by Varley is going to keep that one in the barefoot hands.
Oh, looks like there's a pick downfield. Fair enough. It was looking a little bit messy right now. Trail Mix really keeping on that defensive pressure that we saw in the first points as well, making it difficult for Barefoot to find the open players. They're relying on their handler movement, which is really great to see. But here, I mean, they're managing to find those undercuts. But we'll see how much this defensive pressure can last. Can they stop this possession? No.
Nice run through by Trail Mix. One thing that I really want to highlight about what Trail Mix were doing, nice wide open hands, quick 1-2. Smith closing in on defense. Pressure might have been just enough. What we might get a chance to see it again with regards to the Trail Mix defense is that, particularly on the undercuts, they're keeping enough space from their defenders. They're playing honest defense, but they're keeping enough space that it crowds the area. So you don't have a couple of points of players there. They're spreading out a little bit more. They're taking up a little bit room, and it's making some of those undercuts from those handler resets for Barefoot a little bit harder to come away.
Whoa!
Great big bid. Could not get it. Silberbauer winds the hammer, decides to holster.
He's looking at the break side of the field as well, but they're working the open side again. This is the low side of the field. I love this patience right now, waiting for options, and that's a point on the board for Barefoot.
Phenomenal strike cut, nice and explosive. One of the OG bare feet.
I love that movement. So again, really great patience in the end zone. We've seen both teams making turnovers as they're getting a bit closer to the line. But here, they're just waiting to find the open player. Case in point right now. Sussing the options, holding the disc safely, and then boom, handler strike cut. That's a classic way to score. Well-deserved point.
Yeah, that front cone, particularly on the open side, one of the most dangerous places on the field in Ultimate, particularly if you've got a nice, really explosive athlete playing in that reset handler position. Gives them an opportunity to take one hard first step, get the advantage over the defender. Those environments really tend to favor the offense, and it's largely because the offense makes the choice that defense has to respond to it. And that little bit of a lag in reaction time, which is always going to be present, can often open up a window just enough for a team to tie the game.
So the score now 1-1. Early days in the Division 2 New Zealand National Championships 2025. We have Barefoot now pulling to Trail Mix, giving Trail Mix an opportunity to respond on offense. Meanwhile, Barefoot looking to respond with that similar intense defensive pressure that we were seeing over the last 2 points.
The sun peeking through the clouds as the disc falls down on the near sideline out of bounds. So we've seen the signal for the brick, the outstretched hand, which means the Trail Mix are going to bring it to a point about 18 meters in front of the end zone in the middle of the field. So there is no positional advantage conferred to Barefoot by having the disc fall out of bounds on that initial pull.
Now, it's exciting to see Trail Mix here. I know we saw them 2 years ago, I remember, really appreciating a lot of the quick movement that we've seen they're putting out in the field right now. Case in point right now, the classic give goes. It was something I really enjoyed. And also, love to say it, called it before, we're seeing Barefoot throwing a zone, really trying to shut down that fast movement. So they're marking space, that is, not the players themselves. A bit of a junky zone. Looks like they have 2 up front, 3 in the middle, 2 deep. And a lot of pressure on those marks. Early days, a lot of energy, so they're really, really chasing the disc down. Now, meanwhile, the offense is trying to move the disc quickly, still trying to shut down those throws, and inside-out backhand. And now they've cracked through. Trail Mix making their way downfield. Easy.
As I said, that front cone, dangerous, but for a different reason, as Parsonen manages to find a nice opening. And that is one of the perils of playing a zone, as a defensive set are looking to occupy space to target threats as they come into their sphere of influence. As that zone structure is maintained all the way back through the end zone, a lot of teams will often call to collapse it back to a person defense.
Yeah. Mainly
because if you've got one player marking a given area on the field, you can flood that with 2 players to really keep them busy, or send a whole bunch of attention in that direction to divert the defense's awareness away from those threats on the far side of the field, especially when you have a competent thrower like Parsonen for Trail Mix to put that one away.
Exactly, and Reed also downfield doing a great job, number 26 on Trail Mix, that is, of recognizing where the defense was and working with those downfield players. I'd like to say, while Reed scored the point, it's shared by all those downfielders. He was the other ones were taking the attention and drawing the defense away to leave him open. It's really a team situation, a team point. Although stat on the board for him, well deserved.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing is, a lot of the teams that I've played on, one of our biggest priorities, yes, offensively, it's nice to sort of keep track of how many scores and assists and whatnot, but we always try to keep to the philosophy that every block, every defensive play belongs to the team. On the flip side, on offense, it's a similar thing. There's a lot of work that happens in the downfield space. You might have your handlers working the disc backwards and forwards for a minute, 20, 30 passes. And that is facilitated by cuts in the downfield, keeping the defense busy, keeping the defense from intervening, adding mismatches or adding additional coverage to some of those narrow throwing channels.
And see that pull, what a great setup from Trail Mix. The hawk goes up, the foot block extraordinaire reads it and comes down with it. And we just wanted to note the pull went all the way back in the end zone. What a great way to start that defensive points from Trail Mix, cleaning it up. Giles with the disc.
And it's going to be a turn off of that one. We are going to see Morgan to pick up and initiate, supported by Smith in the upfield for Barefoot.
Doing a great job at just finding those open players right now, launching it deep. That's a crossfield downwind hawk. How well placed is that play?
That was phenomenal. Wollaston finding Varley, a nice big long shot despite great coverage there from Metcalf Wallach from Trail Mix. Just using the height, using the positioning. Just a phenomenal whakataiapa there, great box out.
And one thing that I wanted to note here is they've really capitalized on the direction of the wind. So there was a crossfield downwind throw, and while the defense was right on the shoulder, you could argue that deep cut was fully covered, but with, again, just recognizing the conditions and taking advantage of, with that throw, throwing it slightly downwind, you can put a bit more power behind it, and you're putting it into space. And even when you're shoulder to shoulder with someone, it can be so difficult to mark every single way the disc might fall. So really great recognition from the thrower there, as well as the defense to really box out, claim that space, and make a safe catch.
That's exactly it. I mean, just a reminder for those folks watching at home, Ultimate is a non-contact sport, and so offensive and defensive positioning makes all the difference, particularly on those longer plays. When you have a really strong one-on-one matchup in the end zone, players can't intentionally foul. I mean, they could, but boy howdy, the rest of the community would have something to say about it. And so, yeah, your positioning relative to another player can can make the difference of millimeters in those clutch moments.
And I'm loving this, Blair. Look, it's a game for the fans. The score might be 2-2, but they're neck and neck just trading right now. And this is also often classic. You know, when games start, both teams coming out firing, really bringing their warm-up. We'll see if one of them manages to sneak away as these points drag out a bit more.
Powell trying for the couple. Oh, great touch through by Micah Miller to shut that one down. Happy birthday to you, buddy. Jack putting it up, tries for the double, couldn't. Yes, he can.
What an incredible catch.
Fantastic work there by our other Varley. There are two of them on the board, just putting in work. Back-to-back Varley scores for Barefoot.
And I love here, we're going to watch this again. This is, you know, coaches will say this, teammates will say this. When someone goes up for the disc, you want to, well, there's so many stories, you know, there's so many lessons. First of all, if you can touch it, if you can catch that disc, even if it wasn't meant for you, you should catch it. Because you never know if the other person is going to. Secondly, always back up your players. We see a great job there. Maybe it was meant for him. Maybe he's just backing up his teammate. In case the first person doesn't catch it, you have a chance. Then thirdly, I always catch your Ds.
Yeah, that's one of the big tenets of Ultimate. A disc is live until it touches the ground, as a general rule. So in instances like that, yes, you get a touch on the block, but until that disc has touched its first blade of grass, it's still anybody's game. And in this case, it goes to Barefoot to give them the lead for the first time in the game. They are now up by 1. Kei mua mā te kotahi.
And you know, I'm not complaining. If they're scoring points like that, you know, it's always nice to score points as cleanly as possible, but you know, it's exciting.
A point's a point.
Exciting game to watch.
A point is a point.
I mean,
it's one of those things that you can't beat beautiful Ultimate, and you can't beat scrappy Ultimate.
Yeah, that is true. The sun's coming out. Look at that beautiful light on the grass coming across the fields, and the disc is bricked.
Almost like God herself is looking down on this beautiful tournament. We're going to see Giles with the disc, making some nice work through, finding Edgeworth, cutting back towards the near sideline. Irish putting a big shot up. There's a lot of coverage underneath.
Spicy space.
Triple coverage on that one. Barefoot defense had a triangle set up that the intended receiver wasn't even inside.
Yeah. Edgeworth, I think, made such a fantastic deep cut there that was just,
Great recovery by Smith on that one. There was an aggressive bobble, but he manages to find Wollison. Far sideline eaten up by Irish, hoping to close and tie the game. Goes to Parsonen by way of Walsh.
And Blair, I want to see them clean up their decisions, but at the same time, these quick turns are so exciting.
Absolutely.
It's such good watching that I don't want them to change a thing. This is fantastic. Yeah. And a clean point. Look at that. It's quite scrappy in a very friendly way, in a very spirited way. Just a lot of tenacious defense we're seeing out on the field. These quick turns. A lot of heads-up awareness of where the defense is, reading where the disc might go. Let's see that one more time.
Resets around, finds Parsonen, and then quick 1-2, step around, manages to find the score there for Trail Mix to tie the game.
For that first turnover, though, it was a classic moment where deep cuts going deep. I think we had Edgeworth going deep on Trail Mix, number 80, and such a solid deep cut, but the handler held the disc for a second too long, and because he was setting up the throw, maybe not quite ready, or potentially Edgeworth is just that fast of a cutter, but not quite ready to give it to him at the right time. He waited a moment, threw it up, but that was just enough time for defense to come under it to get that. Yeah, delicious defensive play. But, yep, as we can see, Trail Mix coming back with it nonetheless, bringing it out and putting another point on the board, as you just said, 3-3.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's quite interesting, when the game was back when it was 1-1, we had about 9 minutes on the clock. It's been about 9 additional minutes since then, and already the score is 3-3. So we've had 4 points scored in the time that it took to score the first 2, which is a testament to just how these teams are picking up the pace. They're starting to find their gears. They're starting to find their feet, really pushing through. Franson to pick up and initiate as we see a horizontal structure from the offense. Finds Morgan on the upline, who puts a big shot up. There's a lot of float underneath it.
Oh, he was there. he was there. He had the height.
Miller went big, but there was enough pressure there to shut that down. Now we've got unmarked trail mix players initiating a quick give-go, decides to let it rip.
Coming right
Webb
back.
can't. Clark's going to come down over Morgan on that one.
Wow.
Mark Bradley to
And that's an example of the win right there as well. You know, it puts power behind a throw, but at the same time, downwind throws tend to drop, and he just needed a bit more juice on that in order to sneak it across the line instead of kissing the turf there. Jack.
Oh,
Thinking about the next throw, you know, before it's in his hands.
an uncharacteristic drop by Jack as well, who we saw relatively recently, actually, at the 2025 New Zealand Secondary Schools Championships. Doing a phenomenal performance there for Hamilton Boys High School. But again, I love that he jumped into that catch as well, just making sure it came into the breadbasket.
This is a really interesting play right now that we're seeing. So players flooded downfield. There's a lot of poaching going on. I'm unsure about that end zone play. I'd really like to see them set that up again. That's not something I've seen before.
I think, and I mean, I could be wrong, it's been known to happen. The intention there was just to give as much space as possible for that isolation. Great recovery there by Bradley off the third attempt on that one. I think they were trying to set up an isolation to just give themselves a lot of... There's Jack's hands again, puts a big shot up. Looking for Varley, wide open. No, he's not. It's Webb with the block. Yeah, I have to wonder if they were setting up an isolation play with a lot of players back in the upfield just to give them a really secure reset. But there was a lot of confidence, I think, in that downfield.
A lot of back and forth right now as well for both teams. We're seeing the Hawks that are coming off are not connecting quite as much. See these longer throws. So I would like to see... Oh, you know, he has separation. He has distance. I would like to see them maybe consider holstering them at this stage. These Hawks that are... Now we're starting to see it a little bit on the field. You know, players walking down, hands on knees there. They're getting tired because this is it's turning into a little bit of kickball, it looks like. These Hawks aren't quite coming off kickball. I mean, they're just launching it. They're launching it as hard as they can, you know.
A generous interpretation would be there's a lot of territorial play happening. Colloquially referred to in the Ultimate community as Huck and D. Just send it long and hope you're applying enough defensive pressure to generate a turn close to the end zone. I think, and it's something that's interesting, right? Like, particularly when we have youth players, they can get really, really geared up, especially after a small error. They get in their heads a little bit about it. And Jack is playing incredibly well to get these little defensive pickoffs, getting those interceptions and regaining possession for Barefoot. But it's that next step. Take a breath. Just take a breath before you send it. And that decision-making as it evolves over the course of a game, a point, a tournament, a career.
What a turnover. Going for the hammer, right?
A little bit too much.
I just want them to holster these. Just play a bit smarter. And the wind, the wind is really taking a toll as well. Yeah. They're putting Varley to work in the downfields, just making him chase after everything.
I mean, like, you can understand why. He's got speed, he's got the height, has a really good sense for where the discs are going to be coming down.
Keeping the disc safe in the breadbasket there. A pop pass up, but again, safe in the hands.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, Kelsey. It's a lack of polish at the moment. The intensity is there, but it's looking rough. They're able to come away with it. They're providing backup. They're providing security. But there's a little bit of refinement lacking. Could be that it's just a little cold. Could be that this is the first time Australians have ever seen water on the ground. And it's just taken them a little while to get used to it. Who can say? We've still got a lot of game ahead to play. Clark with the disc now on the near sideline. Araya and Jack on defense. Webb with a laser show right to the end zone.
Nice.
Giving Trail Mix back the lead.
You were just asking for it, Blair, and Trail Mix delivers. You know, they bring a bit of poise. They closed out the point really nicely there, bringing just a bit of poise, a bit of patience. And with that crossfield slicey throw that we saw to score the point, there was the decision, the moment, the pause of consideration, finding the option. Here we go. Finding the open player, just the consideration, the pause, and the execution that goes into it, which is, I think, what gave Trail Mix the point there. One thing that they, showed a bit more than Barefoot.
Absolutely, and I think they really love that sequence too. When we have Webb with the disc, his first look is towards that break side to pull the defense out of position a little bit, really open up that open side or near sideline channel, keeping the defense just a couple of seconds to give that downfield cutter an opportunity to get separation, and then nice wide open side channel, great backhand for the score to take the lead again as we enter the 26th minute.
The score now 4-3 to Trail Mix. Again, wow, a game for the fans. A game to start the weekend. Neck and neck, both teams fighting it out. I'm curious, still to see if either one of them does start to take a few steps ahead, pull away a little bit, which is what, again, often happens in close games that start off like this. The disc rolling out of bounds, the wind really, really taking it.
Freedom Frisbee.
Yeah.
It's rolled all the way back around by our generator, maybe Trail Mix, hoping to give it a little bit more gas.
Which is great. It gives defense time to set up. You know, I love that pull. It's on the sideline. It's on the low sideline as well. So Barefoot really needing to break it open.
Eaten by Varley despite looking for nickel on that one. Threads through, finds Jordan. Back around, but it's a little high. Jordan has it. Crowded by the defense as they take that extra second to reset to their players. Dykstra opening up the downfield now, finds Varley. There's an option, but it's closed off early by the Trail Mix defense, clogging that lane.
Adapting quickly to that. And it looks like Trail Mix forcing upwind.
Patrick Smith snatching Parsonen's ankles on that one, but Barefoot not able to close. And immediately firing back with a huge cannon, but it's fading early. Touching down.
You know, some hot closing speed from Daniel Klink. He was running it down. I love the acceleration there. You know, we're seeing the turnover of those legs. He's working to get it, but the wind just pulling that fade too far away. And we were seeing the same with Barefoot when Barefoot was throwing up those hucks. Teams need to recognize and adapt the enticing throw there, especially when going in that direction, to reel in the power a little bit.
Wollaston pinned down. Jordan Smith decides to uncork, puts it high. Somehow, a foul called and immediately resolved. It was in hands. There was a second attempt that Wollaston had on that bobble. We're going to see again, but that collision indefinitely interfered with his ability to do it. So great spirit on display there as Smith is hoping to put this one away. A reminder for those watching at home, Ultimate is a self-officiated sport. So when those fouls happen, it's players who call them, make the decision and continue to resolve the play as soon as possible. A slip in the end zone from Wollaston.
Oh, and hands on the head as soon as he puts that up. Great defense there. I don't think that's quite what he intended to do with the disc.
No, but we're going to see another call made here again. A little bit contacty. We're seeing a really tight game.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite what he intended with that throw. Again, hands on the head immediately. He threw it up and the wind popping it straight up. You know, if you're not putting touch on the disc, if you're not doing it right, the wind's going to punish every bad part about your technique when you release the disc. So he's throwing upwind, he's on the low side, and yeah, pops right up. I don't think what he intended at all.
And exactly as you mentioned earlier, Kelsey, we're seeing Trail Mix really try and force Barefoot to play upwind. And as you say, right, the wind is going to find the cracks in your technique. So if the edge of the disc is a little too high, the wind's going to come underneath. That almost bowl shape's going to get inflated by the air and lifted up. Which is exactly what Trail Mix were hoping would happen, but as you say, not Barefoot. So we're going to look to retract that call. There's going to be a turnover. We're going to see Trail Mix pick up in their front corner and initiate.
And I love that as well. I think it's a good reminder that if you think a foul may have happened, you can always call it and retract the decision after conversation, after checking in with the other team.
Finds Giles, goes around to Parsonen. Yeah, we would be really good to see this game clean up a little bit. A lot of contact just over the last couple of possessions.
I think these boys getting confused with rugby, maybe ice hockey.
Yeah.
Aussie rules?
Mixed martial arts.
Yeah, anyway, Ultimate Frisbee being a non-contact sport, and it's, you know, lovely to see these calls getting resolved, but at the same time, it's it is more fun to watch the disc live than conversations happening on the field. Looks
like there's going to possibly be a contested call there, but the discussion is still happening. So again, right, the idea with the self-officiation should be more like the safety net at the bottom of a tightrope than anything else. Ideally, we would see a game without any calls at all, but where the calls are happening, it is good to see that the teams are taking the time to have those discussions, and that it's remaining reasonably calm. Particularly in the open division, I think more so than mixed and women, we see a little bit more of that contact. We are seeing a confirmation that that is a contested foul call. In the instance of a contested foul call, play will return to the last uncontested possession. So where we knew the disc was okay, which in this case is going to be in the hands of Parsonen as a handler for Trail Mix. Goes through, finds Khan on the far sideline, putting a long shot up.
And again, I don't know if we're going to see these Hawks connect. I would like to see them connect. When they're coming in this direction, though, the wind it's popping them up, and then they're soaring to the downwind side. They're just soaring a little bit farther. Maybe, you know, the receivers can read that and adjust a little bit more, but as long as they're not connecting and they're still not connecting, it seems to be a bit of a dangerous option.
Well, there's a combination of things. Not only is it dealing with the wind, but it's also a lot of people throwing for the cuts, particularly recognizing the direction of the wind. It's super important to have cuts along this near sideline pushing deep, because that's the direction that we're seeing the disc tend to fade.
Great coverage there. You know, the disc launching up the power, taking it up instead of flats. But again, great recognition and from the recipients.
Hunt around, finds Nickel. Smith on an upline cut, pressured by Parsonen, eaten up by Giles.
Where was the person he was defending there? It was just such good field awareness.
Nice little inside shot. Giles goes to Powell, continuing through via Giles. A little bit of give and go, a little bit of dominator play, putting it long.
And I love that Giles just really recognizing the danger. There was that huck option we saw downfield, and he decided to play that small ball. Just the give and go, the throw and immediately running was struggling, his defense struggling to keep up with him. He just picked up that point and put it on his back. We'll see it one more time. I love the way you see he's looking for the disc. He's throwing and then immediately making that cut again. And while you do need to establish a pivot in Ultimate Frisbee, it's not a travel. If you're slowing down, you know, he hasn't slowed down. He's releasing it as soon as he's caught it. And yeah, I think just such a great display of athleticism, intelligence, and technique, and how he just runs that point with his team. Seeing that deep option, holstering it, and instead looking to the high side, which is not where they've really been putting it very much.
Absolutely. So great work by Trail Mix. And again, you were asking, you know, in a few minutes, are we going to start to see one of these teams clawing away? It's not a huge opening yet, but we are seeing Trail Mix widen that gap a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of the pressure off, particularly over the last couple of points. We've seen a lot of scrappy, hey, we want to try and move this quick. We want to try and get this going. We want to try and really push the tempo, push the tempo. And now with Trail Mix being up by 2, it takes a little more pressure off them. It does put it back onto Barefoot. Barefoot now need to work a little bit harder. They have to be more precise. They have to be able to close out these offensive points.
And love to see the fans on the sideline as well. The next generation, the future of Ultimate Frisbee out here at the Division 2 National Championships. The disc is live now. Barefoot looking for options. The wind has picked up even more from the beginning.
Franson putting it deep. Snatched out of the sky by Jack Reed, number 26 for Trail Mix. Bocking, marked by Franson. Can't get a hand to it. But Miller putting enough pressure on there.
Not sure how that happened. It looked like the disc played pinball a little bit between hands.
Yeah.
Before finding the ground.
Morgan has it. Can't get around, puts it out and around.
Finds. Great execution on
Miller
that.
putting long for volley.
Oh, beautiful.
There it
Stunning.
is.
And what a great, first of all, I love the cut and I love the handler recognition. You know, again, a player like Morgan with the experience, seeing the player coming under on the open side, good defense, covering that open under option.
Yeah.
And instead challenging the harder throw, which Morgan shows he has. We'll see that one more time as it sets up.
Clark had a great seal on that one too, but just that edge to go around the defense who were trying to, I guess, poach under a little bit, maybe close that lane more, but then Miller able to put that long shot for volley.
And the forehands deep is showing the kind of the face of the disc to the wind instead of the underside, which allows it to float. It means it's going to push it down, but he puts just enough power behind it that and into space that it's an easy catch for the receiver. Riley with the point. Great point for Barefoot. Love to see that.
And so back within one, the wind picking up a little bit more. It's a little gustier now. You might be able to hear it whipping across our microphones, although we're a professional outfit. We're all socked up. You won't be able to hear a dang thing. But you can see it. Our flags on in the background. Some of our partners who are helping here put on this fantastic event. You can see that coffee flag whipping away in the wind in the background on the left-hand side of your screen now.
Powering ULTI.TV, powering the athletes.
Stay caffeinated.
Coffee. So now Barefoot with the pull. As I mentioned, showing that underside of the disc to the wind, launching it up in the air, but it's going to fade towards the middle of the field, about where the brick mark is. Walsh with the disc.
Goes with Khan, finding far sideline, bringing back towards center field.
Giles. Back to Khan.
Finds Walsh again, center field. Nice three-man group running as those downfield receivers are swirling around, keeping the defense busy, allowing some great early disc movement.
Textbook ultimate right now as they're finding the open players. Barefoot needing to step up a little bit more to shut down these options. They're really cleanly finding who's open.
Great little breakthrough there, finding Edgeworth. Snappy little forehand puts through to Giles one more time. Decides to go back around, finds Walsh supported on the near sideline by Parsonen.
Oh, we're inside!
Eaten by Jack. There he is again with a great defensive pickoff, finding Smith on a nice little short shot to the midfield.
Hungry boy out for second breakfast. Nom nom nomming. Barley looking for deep options, launching it.
Turning early.
Jack!
Oh, another half second in the chamber would have seen that a tied game.
You love to see it though. You know, normally it's been Jack launching those deep looks to Varley, and it's always exciting when it's switched the other way around. Really cool to see those receivers who normally have, you know, catching the disc in the end zone and sealing out the point, showing that they have the firepower as well to launch it to their counterparts. And similarly, the people normally in the handler position, in this case Jack chasing it down, you know, didn't result in a point. There wasn't a completion, but exciting to see that look coming across nonetheless. A lot of depth. It shows a lot of depth and experience in that space, and also showing the defense that they need to respect every option. That, you know, a handler like Jack can go deep, and that when Varley has the disc, a hook might come out as well.
Trail Mix answering with a long shot of their own. Varley with a touch, but it's live. Giles is going to recover and take some free yards while he's at it, but he puts it a little high. Not too high for Edgeworth, hoping to close out, comes crossfield. Nicely reeled in by Trail Mix to bring it back to a 2-point lead.
Well executed there with the wind. I love that final throw. He holds it, recognizes an incredible D. But yeah, you have to catch them. But here, this catch, I mean, a great read there, but he holds it, recognizes the wind, and then puts it into space. An easy catch for his receiver. Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. It's that heads up. A lot of players, particularly in the sort of early stages of their career, if they haven't come across from other sports, if they don't maybe have a huge amount of kind of, I want to say sporting instinct almost, their defense will get a touch on the disc and they'll, dang it, there's a turnover. But instances like that, particularly with something like a flying disc, you hit it and often it can destabilize it, but it's not going to be enough to bring it to the ground. And so Giles recognizing that, just that immediate switch back, hey, disc is still in the air, it's still mine, chasing that one through and being able to really set things off for Trail Mix to put another point on the board.
Oh, exciting game. Now, Blair, let's talk a little bit about the kind of the logistics here. What are teams playing to? When are they going to take half? What's happening there?
Great question, Kelsey. So we're playing to the best of my knowledge, 15 points throughout this tournament. It's Division 2. Now, with regards to a halftime, we don't really follow the clock that you can see in the top left-hand corner of your screen. Teams take a halftime break once the first team puts 8 points on the board. So currently Trail Mix up by 2, the score being 6-4. If they can score the next 2 points, we'll take a short break to allow them to consolidate. Now, it's important to recognize that there's still the convention of starting opposing halves on offense and defense. Now, Trail Mix started off on defense. So if they go to that 8 point, they'll take that halftime, and then they get to start on offense. So they don't have to then fight for the disc. They start with it, and it puts them in a really, really good position to continue to widen a lead if they have one at that point.
I love the hammer fake. Right now we've got Trail Mix showing some bracketing on defense, helping to no doubt shut down those deep options. The wind taking the better of that throw, and Trail Mix now on offense.
Great read and interception by Purvis, who's pushing into the deep space.
Oh, great catch. Again, the wind just punishing those throws without much touch. The disc goes deep. Great read.
But not going really to be able to pull that one in.
Making it easy for the receivers. All of these catches are a little bit difficult. So, you know, when you're making difficult throws, difficult catches, it's eventually going to catch up with you there.
Varley finds Franson right in front of the doorstep. If Trail Mix can generate the turn here, they're going to be able to recover it at about the halfway point. That throw coming in just outside of the range of Varley. Powell.
Yeah, so the poise we've seen both teams bring out, really making those connections is not happening in this point. There's, again, the wind is an issue. Just for reference, right now there's an injury on the field. Yeah, so it looks like Trail Mix is taking a sub.
Yeah, so Powell has left the, no, looks like Reed, I think, has left the field as a substitution. So play's going to stop while we just resolve that. One of the perils of, I say perils of Ultimate, one of the most impressive things about Ultimate is that there are generally, apart from in the instance of injury, no infield substitutions or substitutions allowed in the middle of a point. As these points starts to drag on, it becomes a question of grit and stamina as much as it does technique and skill. Big fake, opens up the shot.
I love those fakes. Wow, he was there. That shot had speed behind it. It had power on it. And while I think it was Varley who was there almost with the D at one, it's just so fast under his arms. He couldn't get in that position fast enough. It's really hard to read a disc when you're coming at it, but it's slicing through the air. Slicey fakes here, just moving the mark where he wants him to be, opening up other options. See how the mark is adjusting to cover just a second behind each fake he put up before finding that player in the end zone to score the point.
Like a really narrow, but like an inside break throw. So he wasn't forced up the sideline. He was able to cut back towards that center field. It looks like we might have maybe miscalled that. It seems like it's going to be a game to 13 instead. So we're going to be taking our halftime now.
Exciting times. Whew. Wow, first game of the day, first game of the weekend. Both teams coming out firing. Right now we've got Trail Mix pulling ahead just a little bit, but still, you know, with the second half coming up, it's still anyone's game.
Absolutely.
You know, as we say, it's always a game to one. You know, who's going to score this point, and then who's going to score the next point. That's how you score a game. So we'll find out in the second half.
Absolutely. Again, as you say, Kelsey, there's only 3 points in it. Barefoot might be able to find another gear as they come out to the second half, but up by 3 only. Time will tell. We will be back with you very, very soon for the exciting second half of our first match of the 2025 New Zealand Ultimate Championships in beautiful Otautahi, Christchurch, here at Bob Dean's Field. I'm Blair Monroe with the wonderful, the inimitable Kelsey Bielek, and we're going to be back very, very soon.
See you guys soon.
All right, folks, we are back for the exciting second half of the opening match for our 2025 Ultimate Championships. Barefoot with the disc to come out on defense. We have their opponents, Trail Mix, some imports from Australia for the weekend from Canberra, to come out on offense. Now, they took half in this game to 13, so the score is currently 7-4 in favor of Trail Mix. Varley with the pull to put it up and start things off. Looks like we're going to see a horizontal stack setting up for Trail Mix. So 3 players in the upfield space to give them a lot of support to move the disc cross-field and keep it in position, which I'm imagining is a response to the wind that we're seeing here.
Yeah, interesting. Also in response to the wind we're seeing here is a zone defense. So players, again, marking space instead of an individual offender. So if the player goes into that space, it's their responsibility to cover them at its core, basic essence. And meanwhile, on offense, Trail Mix doing a great job of moving the disc quickly to really move the players around, create that dynamic space, so downfield it can open up options as well. And right now, just a lot of great movement among those 3 handlers, which is going to make sense when you only have 2 handler marks. There's going to be at least one of them who's open. Now, Trail Mix doing a great job trying to keep it on the high side. That is the direction the wind is coming from. They're trying to keep it away from this close sideline where it's even harder to move it with the disc being almost another defender.
What the zone does, they try to push towards the far side. A little bit of lift underneath that disc means it's going to be bobbled and dropped. So we're going to see Barefoot essentially taking. Their zone's going to definitely take credit for that one regardless.
And that looks like
contact
there's a
there on the throw.
It's hard to see turns happen that way when it's just a bobble, just a miscatch. It should have been a clean catch. But yep, it sounds like there's an accepted foul call. The disc will be going back to the thrower, and the stall then starts at 0.
So Dykstra to pick up and initiate, supported by Varley, as opposed to the horizontal stack that we've seen elsewhere. We're seeing a bit of a side split there.
Oh, great breakthrough. An interesting decision again. Trail Mix, of course, forcing upwind like they were in the beginning and then in the first half. That results in a turnover. Trail Mix again with the disc, and we're seeing match defense right now.
Great.
Yes, we are.
Yes, so they've collapsed that zone back to a... Oh. Not sure whether or not that was necessarily communicated to all of the players. I thought I saw a couple of the players in the Barefoot side still playing in that beautiful reception there by Varley. That's exactly what they were looking for.
I think that was Varley's squared point. Really great vision on the throw. The unfortunate turnover there, but yep, Varley squared. Great vision, really seeing that receiver. I was a bit nervous initially when he put it up just because there wasn't a lot being set up, but obviously vision on the field that I cannot see.
Yeah.
And as he finds that, just a great huck, finds the open player, Varley, seeing it into his hands. Really not making him work too hard at all, making that point look easy.
But I mean, and that's exactly what we kind of want to see, particularly from this Barefoot side. We mentioned that they've pulled players together from sort of elsewhere in the region, so it's important to recognize as well, even though there's 2 points in it, so they're keeping it nice and tight. A lot of their team, this is their first time really getting an opportunity to play together, to gel together. So the team that we're seeing right now is not the same team that we're going to be seeing from them at the end of the tournament. Hugely important to recognize. So great work by them, keeping it back within 2. A nice emphatic start for them for the second half of this opening match.
And also, you love to see it. I mean, there was a Varley squared point. Similar age, but one thing that I really appreciate about Barefoot is the depth of the team, the experience across the entire roster, to the younger players again that Blair mentioned in the beginning who've come up through high school together. Really cool to see across the community. Players. Giving back. Providing the legs to run around, chase the disc, or giving back the experience to the youth.
Now, something that I really love to see in this Barefoot zone is you've got Micah Miller parked up in the deep space. And so he's currently trying to cover 2 players. They're really trying to force that flood to keep him distracted, to give themselves a lot more opportunities in the downfield. And we're still seeing the Trail Mix handlers do the bulk of the work. They haven't really cut through the zone just yet. They're still having to work around it.
And this shows that either the zone defense downfield is doing a really great job of clamping down and stopping those options, or potentially the cutters aren't quite sure where to get open. Right now, regardless, it's not too much of an issue, because if you can work it through the handlers and that's working well, you know, why not? It's always safe to look to a handler for a swing.
And it's a thankless job being in the downfield when that happens, having to pressure the zone. With this 2-3-2 zone structure that we're seeing, so we've got Franson in the middle doing a little bit of kind of midfield quarterbacking, really trying to help apply pressure and shut down the middle of the field. But he can creep in a little closer, and it becomes sort of more like 3 players marking the handlers instead. And if you don't have downfield players applying pressure to that space to force the zone to re-establish its structure and reconfigure that distinct middle role, that can make it a lot harder. So seeing that a lot of downfield cuts are still happening, even though it's handler dominated at the moment, it is absolutely a thankless job. But somebody's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. We see the hands up downfield, and I love that. So that's some great zone offense by Trail Mix. But again, what I really like to see is the downfield is stretched out, the hands up saying, hey, I'm here, handlers. But also, and I hate to say this as someone who definitely cuts downfield in a zone sometimes, is that they're looking him off. And it saddens my heart to say this, but you know, he was standing on the high side, and there's also smart defense kind of giving him that space, knowing that if the disc went up, that it would sit. It would be a hard throw to make. You're throwing up wind. The wind is going to make it sit, which gives you time to run on it and make that defensive play. It would be a really tricky throw to put up. So while he's spreading the defense, doing such a great job, the handler's nonetheless looking at options, but still deciding on the safest option, which is, I think, the reason why neither team has really pulled away. What we're seeing, Trail Mix now really cinching another one on the board, putting another point on the board. The reason I think that they are a few points up is because they have made a few times some of those safer options, maintaining possession of the disc as opposed to getting pulled in by those exciting open players downfield that really requires a tricky technical throw on little room for error.
Especially when you've got players like Wollaston and Miller who are doing the best work in that deep space for the barefoot zone. They were the ones who were parked up. They've got the legs, they've got the reach. As you say, Kelsey, when they're pushed onto that far sideline, that high side, when they're sort of pushed onto that high side, and there's an opportunity for a nice big high hammer or something that you're expecting to drop on your player, with the wind, there's enough time for those tall, fast players, those deep defenders who have a great amount of vision and awareness, which allows them to excel in that role. That's going to get them into a good position to make a good play on the disc.
Great pull.
Beautiful roll there,
With a great pull, what we see, it gives T-Vents time to set up. It goes far down the field, but also, while it's far down the field, your defense can run down. Not an issue as the disc goes up. It's floating, though.
Varley and Calvert. It's Varley for the score to bring it back within 2. Fantastic read and great positioning there.
Yeah.
Oh, possibly a call might be being made.
Yeah, Calvert looks like he was trying to box out Varley. They were both really vying for that space, which can be tricky when the disc is floating right above you. Where is it going to fall? And Varley really taking advantage of the height difference, as well as recognizing kind of where it was going to go. So here again, really props to defense as well. They're both vying for space, but Varley reading where it's going to go. And I think the foul called initially, or questioned, just because how can you get to it? You know, there's a bit of bumping happening, but that's also a testament to great offense, great defense. When you physically take out that space, it's not a foul if the other player has to run through you. They would be the one initiating the foul, right? To score the point.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we talk about in high-level Ultimate, is the idea of players being entitled to their space. So similarly, like it's quite common to see a well-positioned defender who is not moving, not drawing contact. It's not an intentional choice to draw contact and create a foul, but an offender who is changing their line into where a defender might be occupying that space. That's an offensive initiated foul, and so it just shows that kind of level of awareness from defense when those things happen. Great positioning, great work by Barefoot to pull that one down though. Jack with the pull, putting it up. Nice and high, but the wind's going to bring it down, out of bounds on the near sideline.
So one thing we say also when it's windy, it really favors low release throws. Smile on Jack's face as he knows exactly what he did. It favors low release throws because physics, friends in Bono, it's less windy closer to the ground than it is high up in the sky. So the higher the disc goes, if you throw it a hammer, the higher the disc goes, the more the wind is likely to have its way with it. So that pull that was just launched right up the height that got on it, the wind is going to, really push it where it wants it to go.
And Kelsey, speaking of physics, as you say, it's important to recognize that the wind that you feel down here on the ground, much faster, even 1-2 meters up above. So the higher those discs go, it's an increasing effect that the wind is going to have on the flight path of the disc. We're going to see that same zone defense again.
Stall's getting high as they're taking their time. Great movement cracking through that top. They're turning it into almost a cup, almost an arrowhead. Well, it is the same zone. Yeah, tough trap on that sideline.
Yeah, look. But Trail Mix are managing to chip through, finds Khan with a knee slide. Can he close out? Yes!
Wow, nice. Plus the style point for the knee slide, hey?
Great finish there by Trail Mix to put it back on.
Yeah.
We'll see again.
Just nice connections as they're finding the open players. They're not making life too hard for themselves. Maybe life was a little bit hard there, but Khan cleaning it with style, saving his hands, and then finding that backhand. I'm not even sure. I think his pivot was established from his knees there.
I've done it once in a beach tournament, and probably one of the stupidest things that, I think that'd be a little bit of a stretch to call that one of the stupidest things I've done on the Ultimate Field. I was on my knees in front of the end zone, and I threw a shoulder shimmy before I threw. It's not really effective if you don't have the pivot to support it because you're sitting on the ground.
Showing how to do it.
Yeah, so I'm going to be watching this footage back a little bit later on and taking some notes for next year's Ocean Beach. But in the meantime, Trail Mix up by 3 to come out on defense.
As Blair said before, again, it's going to be a game to 13, as we amended, noting half at 7 points. So, yeah, Trail Mix looking out, no doubt, to close it as quickly as possible, while Barefoot still looking to show that they have skin in the game, they have a stake in this game, and I, unfortunately, to share on the live stream, have lost games by more of a lead than this. So, it still is anyone's game. Really well-placed huck. We saw it land inbounds before rolling out, which means that they'll be taking it from the sideline. And a really tricky place to take the disc again, with this wind, again, picking up. You've got it almost as another defender, making those throws to the high side even more difficult.
Smith finds Jordan over Powell despite a great bid. Fast enough for him to lose his hat. Can't quite get the reset away. He's pinned down. There's a touch. And that's going to be enough to give Trail Mix back the disc.
Powell was looking for that run through D there. Didn't have the power, the fifth gear to kick in to get it, but he more than makes up for it there with the touch on the disc.
Oh, it's a little high. Clark with a beautiful little hang time there. Yeah, he just took a couple of steps off the ground and was somehow just hanging out for a little bit.
And I really like both teams, actually. They're forcing high side. So oftentimes teams will force to the low side. They'll allow the disc to come to the corner of the field where it's difficult to throw it to the other. But right now, when you're forcing the people to throw upwind, you're giving them the high side of the field, the whole field to work with, but it's more difficult to throw in that direction. Nonetheless, a break throw comes out. Sliding to catch.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So there's going to be a discussion there.
The question now, was he in bounds, I think?
I don't know if it was in bounds. It was more along the lines of as he slid in over the top of the disc and rolled into it, did he have control or did the disc touch the ground first? So under the rules definition, so here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. Don't look at us, guys. It's a player-officiated sport.
Players looking at us now for feedback.
Yeah.
What are we seeing on the monitor? The question is, what are you seeing on the monitor? What do you think?
Yeah, the biggest thing is important to recognize as we have a couple of players rush through to the booth that they're only able to provide information back to their teams if it does not favor their side.
And Blair and I, of course, staying out of the game because, you know, spirit fouls can be called out on anyone. And if we are weighing in, you know, if we're not called in to weigh in, and we want to weigh in unsolicited in any way, it's player officiated. But, you know, we also could get called out for that.
It's that point there that we're concerned about. So just as it was within the sort of crook of his elbow, our definition for a disc being secured is that it should be trapped between two body parts and non-moving. And so now that players have had an opportunity to watch the replay, they're going to feed that information back to their teams, and we're going to see how that call is resolved. I'm personally a proponent of the rule of cool. If it looks good enough, you should kind of let them have it. And, I mean, body on the line, if it's 50-50, general sportsmanship, even down by 3.
You know, Blair, same but different. I call them style points, you know. But you keep track of them. You
have to keep track of them, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going to contest that call. So they're not able to come to a conclusion. It's one of the perils because it's one thing if there's a foul, possibly, and it's a contested call, but this being a score, whether or not the disc was up or down, he got to it, he managed to get hands to it, but it's a contested play, and so it'll return to the last possession where everyone was aware of the state of the game. So the last uncontested possession, and we'll run it back.
So we'll see that one more time. You know the phrase, discs don't lie.
Finds the reset to Edgeworth, who put up that beautiful pull that started off the entire sequence, goes wide, finds Clark.
See that disc sit beautifully in the wind. A privilege to catch throws like that.
Off the backhand of Edgeworth, a little bit too fast, has to reach back for it. It's always a tough catch to make.
Yeah, leading passes, the importance of putting the disc just in front of your receiver makes it easier to run onto. Because of course, case in point, when it's behind you, it's going to be quite difficult to catch. Great catch, speaking of, by Jack as he launches it.
Laser beam up.
I don't know if that bid was necessary, but I'm here for it, and I love that it happened.
You're the one who's talking about style points, Kelsey. Right on the doorstep now. That was Wollaston with the reset, finds Jack. Smith's there in support, decides instead to go back towards the midfield for Wollaston. Puts it up nice and high. Varley's underneath. So's Edgeworth. It's Edgeworth who comes down with it.
Yeah, that was an interesting backhand throw in these conditions. You know, it's really 50-50 when the disc is going up like that. Unfortunately, a great undercut. The disc is too low. Goes out of bounds. We've got Barefoot with another opportunity on offense. What's up, Blair?
It really is about finding that balance. I mean, the disc goes too high, the wind's going to get it. The disc goes too low, the grass is going to get it.
Nice quick movement right now from Barefoot as they're finding the open players. Love to see the hammer fake.
Miller around to Wollaston. Can he close? Yes, he can. There's Varley. Doesn't have to leave his feet that time.
These Varley boys just cleaning it up. They're working so hard right now for Barefoot. The team really coming together, but we're just seeing them point after point.
So again, big fake, gets a bite out of the defense. We see Wollaston getting the peel away from his defender and then puts it nice and long. Edgeworth, I think maybe a little bit trying to do too much on that one, trying to maybe not recognizing the immediacy of the threat. I think a lot of players, particularly at a high level, try and do a job of not only covering their player, but looking out for other opportunities for them to help. And we see him caught a little bit on the back foot to give Varley the score, and Barefoot back within 2.
And you know, I love to see our friend on Trail Mix Coconut, who had that first foot block of the game, was throwing that up again. He wants another one. Love to see the fakes coming out, but his feet are up there. They're coming around. Yeah. If the disc is going, going low.
You got to get one with each foot, though. You know, otherwise you spend the rest of the day walking with a limp.
Oh, of course. Yeah. You got to get both sides. So now we're going to have Barefoot coming out on defense. Morgan with the disc in hand. He's shown some incredible disc wizardry, wizardry with his throws and how he's been placing them on the field, especially with the wind. Really, doing a great job to make some intelligent options that are also really creative. Showing a veteran pull right now. We've been talking about how the disc has been going out of bounds. So to accommodate for that, he throws it up on the high side, comes down low side.
So well placed.
And Trail Mix right now off to the races with that handler movement that we've seen so classically.
Passing in, facing up against the zone, goes up and over the top to Khan with a scuba.
Wow.
Nice quick give and go between Purvis and Giles. Back to Khan again as the zone resets, finds its position. Goes nice and high to the far sideline. Morgan tries to take a bite, but he can't get there in time. Passing in. Giles again, supported by Irish.
Great safe swing option. Love that these handlers are making the looks, especially with the hammer fakes. And once again, the hands up downfield. He's saying, hey, I'm free. Look at me. But, you know, handlers, again, staying really clean with their decision making, which is what we want to see. Interesting to see that the zone defense is still set right on the end zone line. And again, that can work well for teams, but it is quite rare because it's hard. It's really difficult to maintain.
Absolutely. I mean, I think particularly with the wind being a little bit gusty, it is now starting to affect some of those shorter throws, which might be informing that decision from Barefoot to maintain that zone structure throughout the entire possession. You know, we're seeing Irish do a lot of work, kind of acting as that pivot, acting as that anchor, allowing the disc to move through him to maintain that possession there for Trail Mix. Khan under a little bit of pressure. We see how Irish pulls back, drops off, takes maybe a little bit of a cheeky, unnecessary step there, but keeps that disc moving before chipping one through by way of Giles, I believe, for the score. So now 3 points away from a victory for Trail Mix. A long road ahead for Barefoot, but not one insurmountable. They've had about a 3-point deficit throughout, but at this point, particularly in the second half, they're doing a great job of trading backwards and forwards with Trail Mix. In fact, I think we've had a series of straight trades.
That is a good point.
Throughout this entire second half, which is fantastic to see these teams start to match their energies a little bit, keep the game nice and close, which is exactly what we're hoping to see for a tournament of this caliber.
And you know, I was talking a lot about the Varley players on Barefoot before, but Giles with the disc from Trail Mix, assisting that point. We've seen him also consistently on that stats board, time and time again, making those really poised throws, really kind of standing out, especially in the second half. With the amount of intelligent decisions, points, and assists he's made both in front of and behind the disc. Morgan with the disc in hand, Barefoot on offense.
The wind starting to pick up, which is going to make it a little tougher. We see a great layout block from Bocking there to generate the turn. And defense is now scrambling, trying to shut it down. Little on the high side, goes all the way to the Portaloos. And that's going to give the possession back to Barefoot. This is the key thing, particularly as that wind starts to gust. It's important to recognize that players, the default position where they want to set up needs to change a little bit. Some of those throws have to come out a little bit faster with a little bit more touch. They can't really afford to be as long throws, particularly on those resets. So the peril there of making sure you're close enough to secure the reset as an option is that the defense comes in closer as well and applies that much more pressure. So it's a tough balance to strike. Pushing nice and wide, find Varley right on the far sideline, comes back, finds Morgan center field. The defense applying pressure. We see Clark getting his hands ready.
Morgan was looking for the give-go. Stall is getting high now as he launches it.
Varley's underneath. Way too early, but you gotta go for it.
Yeah, and again, those Hawks fading with the wind, really fading with the wind. It's a tough read.
Khan picking up, signaling with his head, saying where he wants those cuts.
Great timing on these cuts from Trail Mix right now. They're doing such a great job at stall zero to really know as soon as the disc is in hand for those 3 throws of that possession. Disc is in hand, boom, there's another option right there, including the option downfield there. Although again, we've seen those backhands going cross field, consistently going too far. I don't know if we've seen a connection since like the middle of the first half.
Yeah, it's been tough, right? We're seeing these players with these cannons, with the ability to put these long shots up. It's just for whatever reason with the wind, with the fade, maybe the cut isn't quite there. We're not seeing a lot of connections.
That's the wind right there. That's execution. A rare error from Morgan. Oh, and
huge pull down by Bradley for Trail Mix.
Could be an assist. It is the assist. And that's a tough throw. You know, that's a situation where sometimes the lefty backhand comes out of the back pocket, but he does such a great job with that forehand. They tend to need a little bit more power behind them. Not too much power. He sits it just right. Great execution on the throw for that little pop pass forehand. Again, can be difficult to put up. But yeah, great point for Trail Mix.
Great work to bring them within 2 and have the widest margin in the game so far as they are now up by 4 points.
Wow, just wow, friends and Fano. Wind picking up, beautiful weekend. What a game to start the day. You know, also I want to talk about that last point. We saw that huge layout D, and that is the type of energy that is carrying Trail Mix right now. That's the reason they're up a few points. We've seen some huge plays also from Barefoot, but it's plays like that that get the team riled up, you know? And they're really foot on the gas pedal, trying to close it out. Let's see, hopefully let's see Barefoot respond in like kind. There's that forehand I was talking about. Can be difficult, especially downwind, to keep those soft, those short throws soft and not turn into lasers. But again, great execution on it and great decision. Open player, safe in the hands, there's no question about that.
And again, it's one of those things too. I mean, you mentioned, Kelsey, the importance of that touch on the disc and that ability to really not just send it straight into someone's breadbasket. There was a little wobble, not a huge amount of stability on that disc, but that was kind of a necessary compromise in the throw to make sure that it was actually going to get to the receiver gently enough and with enough kindness on it that they'd be able to catch it. So we're seeing Franson on an upline. Jack puts it long, looking for Wollaston.
Love to see that.
Oh, just outside the reach of the bidding. Varley is going to give possession back to back to Trail Mix, sorry.
It's the same as the last turnover we saw. It's all good. I love to see that connected huck, though. We've seen them going up. Sometimes, you know, they haven't always been connecting, but love to see that safe catch, that height on the catch. Unfortunate turnover, giving Trail Mix another opportunity on offense.
Now we're pushing right towards the high sideline, or the far sideline.
That was a spicy decision.
Yeah.
You know, I saw a chalk chili on the back of someone's jersey out there. I think that was a chalk chili throw right there.
Hoping to close out, putting it up. Oh, nice early attack there from Reed, but he's not going to be able to get the hands to it. Now, cannot yet confirm this, but with the game going to 13 points as the win, my assumption is that our time cap is going to be at 75 minutes, so we're nearly there. We do hear the hooter in the background.
I think that he was throwing it to us. That's yeah, that's two very exciting throws.
It's just nice to feel included.
It is definitely to be seen on the field, you know, whether or not you're a receiver. You know, sometimes the case of the baubles plagues an individual. Right now, it seems like there's a case of the baubles on the field, with some fun throws coming up, but also some little swilly catches. Can they clean it up right now? No, unfortunately not. Oh, I hope he's not injured.
Looks like there was definitely contact there. So they're making a foul call. But just to reiterate what we were saying just a little bit earlier, we're going to finish this point at 1 to the highest score, and then it'll be a straight race to that number. So if Barefoot can clutch this out, it'll be a game to 12. If Trail Mix put this one away, they will just be playing to 13 as intended.
So yeah, some silly, very fun, maybe chalk chili throws out on the field. We're seeing some misreads on offense. We've seen such clean, beautiful points over the course of this game, and that's not quite what we're seeing from either of the teams right now. Great to see some robust conversation happening on the field, but I'd love to see which team can just tighten it up, can pull those seams through, pull it tighter, because that's what we need to complete these throws, complete these connections. Although I wouldn't protest another disc coming our way into the booth, it does feel nice to be included.
Yeah, it's one of those tough ones, particularly in the closing moments of a game, is that generally we try and keep these kind of on-field conversations to about 60 seconds at the outside. Ideal, even sort of 30 seconds should be enough for a player to express their opinion, for the other player to express theirs, and then recognize whether or not a decision's going to be made. It's not a courtroom, even though we see a lot of hammers and occasionally objections rather. So it's good to see those conversations resolve relatively quickly. Even if it does result in a contested call, it's still a spirited play to recognize, hey, we're here for a tournament. We're not here to have an argument about what extent of contact was present and what impact it may have had on the play. We're going to see that be an accepted foul, pulled in by Varley by way of nickel for the score. The game is now 11-8 to Barefoot. We're going to be playing to 12.
Well, regardless, nice to see the call resolved, and you know, really clean. I think that would have been an open side. Generally, they've been forcing upwind, but again, Varley in the end zone with a really safe catch. So nice to see that cleaned up efficiently there. Interesting with calls, as we've been mentioning, ultimate frisbee, of course, a non-contact sport, and we see mostly contact around the disc. But if we're running downfield and I run straight into Blair off the disc, that's a foul as well. So sometimes downfield, even if there's not a play on the disc, you can also foul someone and have a conversation about that too. So a big part about any foul is also to consider how would this have impacted the play. There's times where you might be fouled, you might foul someone else, and it wouldn't have impacted it, so maybe you'll set up in position, and it won't affect where the disc actually goes. It provides a space to have a conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite New Zealand players, Hamish Thornton, his take on this, one that I absolutely love, is it's important for players to ask themselves the question, what would the play have looked like had the foul not occurred? Because that's the state of play that should be being returned to in an ideal situation, which is just a fantastic philosophy from one of New Zealand's most spirited players.
I think a bit of confusion on defense on who was marking whom there for Barefoot, but actually really benefited those first few throws. The same huck.
Not
Blair,
connecting.
don't love it.
It's the commentator's curse, Kelsey. You've highlighted it now, and so our teams, much like Santayana once described, going to be doomed to repeat it.
I don't love that. All good. We've got Barefoot on offense now. Varley sussing options, looking for a break straight into the hands of Trail Mix.
Parsonen finds Khan, hoping to put this one away. It's Irish now. Goes wide. Khan outside the doorstep. Not in yet. Wanting to finish off. Oh, the filthiest throw of the game, finding Clark. Good grief. The half pivot, inside break backhand.
He's been throwing those all day, They're so fast. They're so furious. Leaving it all out on the field to win the game. First game of the Division 2 National Championships.
And it's going to go to Trail Mix. The score is 12-8. Canberra Trail Mix over our hybrid team from Hamilton Barefoot. A fantastic showing from both of those teams. Canberra maybe taking a little bit of time to adjust to the conditions, but similarly, Barefoot taking a little bit of time to adjust to their team composition. I do hope we get to see these teams later on in the tournament just to see how they adjust, how they improve. Either way, a phenomenal first showing for our tournament for the 2025 New Zealand Ultimate Championships. This was an open division game. We will have some games from our women's division, which I'm personally looking forward to seeing. I love seeing women's and mixed ultimate. But until then, team, my name is Blair Monroe.
I am Kelsey Bielik.
We will be back with you very soon. Please stay tuned. Mate wa.
Mate wa.
It's not weird, okay? It's just a teamwork confederate. Love your work.
ULTI.TV.
Double blowout?